Hi, I'm Chad Shumaker, and I am very fortunate to be here today with a good friend of mine, musician, educator, and creator of the Special Need for Music program. I'm here today with Mr. Jim Howell. Jim, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yep,
Good to see you.
Great to see you today. Hey, we're here to learn a little bit about this program that you've worked so hard on and that you put so much time and effort and energy into. Where did this come from?
Well, I had one student at our middle school, at Claymont Middle School, one student whose parents contacted us, and they, the special needs teacher and myself, and they said, hey, our son really enjoys music. Is there something that you guys can do to include him in the music class? And it started with just one kid. So he came and he would play some rhythms on a drum. We had an old hand drum that wasn't being used, much like this one.
Okay.
And we started playing on, it was a conga drum. So he played on that, and then we had some time where there was a recording. We put the recording on, he played along with the recording, and that kind of inspired everybody else, hey, why can't we do more with this?
Now, when you're talking about this young man being special needs, I mean, what exactly were his limitations with the whole situation?
He was nonverbal.
I see. Okay.
So he doesn't communicate with any words. Sometimes he would make sounds. He would rock back and forth. So when we started playing, whether it was if I was playing a drum or if we had recorded music, he would start rocking. And the more he enjoyed it, the faster he would go.
Yeah.
So that was how it started.
And initially, and this was just one student.
One kid.
One kid was all you had. Okay. Yeah. Now, I mean, ultimately, we're here now, and this really has taken off in your school district. How did you evolve from just one nonverbal boy to an entire group of kids? What was the process that resulted in this?
Well, he was in a class with I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 kids, and they all had some special needs of some kind, and it was a variety. So when he came down, we seemed to think, you know what? Why can't we have another group come too? So when he was part of the class, we thought maybe bring them all down. I had a bunch of these, so we brought the class down, and we had adults play too.
Oh, so this wasn't just you and the kids. There were, I guess they had aides with them too.
Yeah,
classroom aides, assistants.
Yeah, so there was. I was the leader of the thing, and when they brought the class down, so you figure 7 or 8 kids and maybe 2 or 3 adults. So you had classroom aides, and then you had their classroom teacher. Okay. So she's a special education specialist.
Sure, yeah.
So
that was her.
She would come, and they would all play together. So, I would kind of lead the rhythms, and then the adults would play along.
Now, did you, when you started doing this with your single student, and then eventually became the class, did you realize right away kind of what you had? Was this something you got excited about, or was just one of these things was like, well, this seems to be working?
Yeah, it was. There was no intention of anything. It was one kid comes down, and we think, hey, let's do something for this guy. And then the other kids came down, and it's like, well, hey, let's try this. And it was once a week. It just started off as kind of just a one-off deal. We were just going to do it.
How long were you working per session, I guess? How long were you going?
It was a class period. So, about 45 to 50 minutes. And part of that, though, was the transition of coming into the room and packing up and, getting instruments out. So that was a little bit of the procedure was part of the
So there's
class.
Routine behind it as well, which I'm assuming that the routine, the kids could pick up on that pretty quick, and they knew what to do when they came after the first few times?
Yeah. With the first time, I was envisioning what my 7th and 8th grade band do. So they come in, and they come in the classroom.
Now this is regular education?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would come in the classroom, they get their instruments, music stand, they sit down, we have a rehearsal. This wasn't like that, though.
Okay.
So, the kids came down, and for me to say, well, you need to sit here, that was a big lesson.
Right.
So just the procedure of you're going to sit here, you're going to have this drum. We need to sit by these students. We can't have a certain student with another student.
Right.
You know, those types of things. So it was a big learning curve for me too.
Was there establishment of, I mean, you had to have some sort of rules. I mean, I know that from being in education for as many years as I was, you put something fun in front of a kid, they immediately want to go to it. So did you allow them time to warm up, or was there, okay, hands up until we're ready to go?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that we do like that. In the beginning, I would have the kids sit, and then I would bring the drum to them. Because if you have a drum and you're a kid, you're going to want to play that
Absolutely.
drum. I mean, you cannot have that there.
I'm an adult and I do the same thing.
Yeah, so you're going to want to do that. So
Right.
It's real hard to not touch a drum. So I
Right.
would have them, we'd set up in an arc, a half circle.
Half circle.
And I would have the drums behind me. So I would be like like a conductor type of setup where you have the curve around the guy. And so once they were all seated and we had the adults spaced where they needed to be, then I would pull the drums out. But one of the things, when we do have that noodling that we're going to have, I mean, you always have the noodling. One of the ways to do that is you tell everybody to put their hands on their head.
Okay.
So if you put your hands on your head, if you do that, they're going to stop playing. It's kind of neat because if somebody doesn't hear the instruction, they see somebody else doing it. Oh yeah, he's got his hands on his head. I better do that.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that we did for that too.
Now, was it just rhythms that you were teaching, or did you did you put music in immediately, or did you gradually work that in after they learned rhythms and that kind of thing?
Yeah, when it started, it was just a drum and me playing some beats, and we would play along, and so I would give him a drum, and we would say, "Okay, let's play together," and he would play with me. Okay, and then we said, all right, well, let's do some variations in the rhythm. And then we might say, okay, Billy likes chocolate, Billy likes chocolate. And then Billy would play that back.
So, Billy likes chocolate.
Yeah.
So it's like, so just mimicking or echoing.
Yes.
Echoing.
Yes,
Okay.
those types of things. So when we first started, that was an echo pattern. We called it I play, you play. And so I'll play, you play. So I would play that. I'm sorry, I moved here. I would play that, and then they would play it back. And so that was a big starter. And we used those to learn certain rhythms, because certain rhythms lend themselves to certain words.
Sure.
So if I say strawberry milk,
Yeah.
I have a group of three. Strawberry milk. It's a triplet in music speak, right? So
Right.
Once we found out, well, I like pizza, you're having a rhythm there, and like, wow, this is kind of educational. So it started with that, and then after we would do that, everybody would always just want to play on their own anyway.
Sure.
Well, wait a minute, why don't we all play a roll? So everybody rolls all at once. And then we can go loud and soft and learn a lot. You can play that roll all day long. And we do the wave, so you send it down the row, and so those little things started to happen, and they became very fun. We're learning loud and soft. We're learning different rhythms. After we did more and more of that, it was time to go. So over a couple of weeks, we were doing that. And then one day I had a CD on, and I was listening to Deo by Harry Belafonte.
Belafonte, okay.
And we had an arrangement of that we were doing with our sixth grade band. And I was listening to it to try to figure out how to make it better. It was a band arrangement, but I had the real Harry Belafonte version. And we were listening to that, and that was when the boy in the beginning came, Carson. He came, and I was playing that CD. We went to have our drum time, and he just loved that song. And I played it for the other kids, and they knew Deo from a movie.
It was in Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice,
Yes.
yeah. And there was a group of kids, and they all knew Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And so we said, all right, well, let's try drumming along with that.
Yeah.
So then we kind of picked parts out of tunes, and that's how that started.
So, I mean, was it that point in time that you realized, or was there another point in time where you're like, man, I really got something? I mean, that this is something that could really be good for these kids who normally may not get to do something like this. Was like, I know in education we call it an aha moment.
The aha moment.
Yes. Did you have one with
I
that
did
as
not
a teacher?
until we had our concert. Once we had the once we had the concert, that was the aha moment. It was
Well, okay, so then let's back up here. When did you decide to do a concert? How did that happen?
Wow, you know, it was so long ago. If I think about that, I think maybe, I guess somebody was curious about it, and they wanted to know what was happening. And I thought, you know what, we could have a concert, but we won't do it on stage. Like when we think of a concert, we think of, you know, your Motley Crue in an arena, you know, or in a stadium.
Yeah.
And so it's not like that.
Right.
And but what we did was, I like to call it the classroom with a window. So we set up the room just like we always do. And I said, hey, why don't we have a couple people come and watch? So there was a couple kids in the class next door, one of those things. They had a study hall, and they came over and we watched, and we pretended like we were at a concert. It was kind of a fun thing, you know, like, okay, guys, this is what a concert is. We're going to pretend we're at a concert. So they come and they play, and a couple kids laughed and they cheered them on, and woo, it was great. And then we thought, well, why can't we have the parents come? So we said, all right, well, you know, we had our classroom aides there, and their contracts have to be during the day for how they help. And some of our kids, they depend on our school transportation a lot.
Absolutely, yes.
So there were a lot of different elements that, you know, we kind of need to do this during the day. And so we said, hey, let's come at 10 o'clock, invite mom and dad and grandma, and we'll play a little show for you. And once we did that, that was when I thought, wow, this is making a difference.
How did that feel on that first concert?
Oh man, it was great. And there were people that were so happy, tears in the eyes, people crying, and not that I'm happy that people are crying, but it was so meaningful. You know, it was like the first time they could do what everybody else does. You know, and the one parent told me how he appreciated it because he could be like every other parent and go watch a concert that his kid was performing at. So that was when I thought, you know what, this is worth doing. It was only once a week, and you know, because there were all kinds of other things that we all had to do, different classes and things, but we were able to make that one day a week and really make a difference.
How many years has that been?
I don't know. Long enough. I don't know. Maybe.
I was going to say it's got to be at least, 15, something like that?
2008 or 9 or.
Over
I'm
10.
old. I'm
It's
really
been
old.
over 10 years, and you've continuously done this.
Yeah, we still do it. Now, there's times where, you know, the schedule allows for better things than it sometimes. So depending on which building we were in. Because when I started it was at the middle school. I was the middle school band director, and I assisted with the high school.
Right.
And then that changed, and I ended up being the only guy. So that did change the way we had access to the class. But it's something that's always been in there, even if we can't meet all the time.
Right.
It's still there, and I've had groups that were like 20 people.
20 performers.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest group I have was like 20 people.
What has been the...
And it's been like 5 people too. So,
Yeah.
you know, it just depends.
So, I mean, and in that case, but I think that's something positive because it shows that it doesn't matter how big or so small, the impact of music on anybody, whether, you know, quote unquote regular student or quote unquote special needs student. I mean, it says something. It really does. Now, thinking of that, that combination of regular ed versus special needs and that kind of stuff, I'm assuming that the group has performed for your regular students before. Have they had that? And what has their reaction been, the regular classroom?
You know, the cool thing is about the school where I'm at right now, Claymont. The cool thing about Claymont is the kids love the special needs classes. The students with special needs get tons of love from our student population. Yeah. And I just think it's very unique to the area. I don't remember that when I was a kid. So there's something going on there that is just fantastic. So our students love that. And when we had our concert, I had some of my band students help out with setting up the room and getting things ready for the kids. And And the one day we were getting all things ready, all the band kids had written something on the board for them. So my marker board was covered with, "Hey guys, do good," and stuff like that, and good luck, and so our kids love it. And then that was how we started the concert. First was having the kids, the band kids watch, and they loved it.
Cheered them on.
So our kids are really supportive of that.
Yeah.
The Claymont community is great.
I think that, again, that is something else that is so important in what it is that you're doing, is that it's almost like a removal of the labeling. It's not a special needs kid playing music. It's not a regular educated play. It's just a kid playing music.
Yeah, the thing about this is these are real instruments. I always like to say, I don't want to be the sham wow guy, but it's real instruments, real music,
right?
And make a real difference,
right?
Are you tired of eating junk food for breakfast? No, it's not the infomercial guy, but really, real music, real instruments, real class. It's not watered down.
Have you gotten responses from outsiders, people who have maybe heard about it? Have you done videos of this already, of the performances before?
We did videos for the class type purposes, where I would set up a tripod and just record, that kind of thing. So some of our parents had that. When we started it, the video stuff wasn't as easy to do as it is now,
right?
With the phones.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
One of the things that we tried to do was we had kids, when our technology program was kind of starting to have a little bit more variety to it, right? So we would get cameras, and they tried to do a live streaming event.
Right.
And so we tried to incorporate the technology kids into what we were doing.
See, and that's this, in my opinion, again, as a former educator, this is what education is meant to be. You're taking a very select group of kids, and just by listening to this, because some of these things I didn't know, I wasn't aware that these things were happening. Look at how much this has branched out and has touched other classes.
It has.
And has said, look, this is a uniting thing.
Yeah, and there's a group of high school kids. I'm kind of embarrassed that I don't know what it's called, but it's a leadership type thing, and one of our teachers leads that group. And so those kids, I don't know, like maybe 10, 12 kids, they come and they also get involved with getting ready for our concert, interacting with the performers. They decorate. The one year we had the art teacher help us make masks that were Kiss makeup, the rock band Kiss. So, and we did a Kiss tune, and the Kiss tune was on the website. I'm sorry, the performance was on the Kiss website.
Right.
So when we
hold it. It went on the actual
group. After we got done, I said, you know what? Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm
gonna contact the Kiss group, the Kiss Army.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see if I can get us on there. and they did. They put us up, and they had it was just a picture. It wasn't a video. Yeah. But it was a picture of all the kids with their makeup on and their drums, and we did the tune "Rock and Roll All Night."
Yeah. And party every day.
Yeah. So we did that. It was really cool. But again, you had the art teacher working on it. And the kids could work with the art teacher. Excuse me. Like one of the things too, when we decided to have a concert, well, what goes into a concert? Yeah. Okay, but you got to invite people. So now we make invitations. Maybe who are we going to invite? Okay, well, if we're going to invite that person, do we invite that person? So we talk about how to entertain. You're teaching people how to have a guest. Yeah. And then we talked about, well, what if we had cookies afterwards? We have a reception, right? Yeah. So now we have to make cookies. Yeah. So the kids can get involved.
This is really becoming involved.
It's a thing.
In a positive way. I mean, that reminds me of the kind of stuff that the school programs that we grew up with. I mean, we, as kids of the late 70s, early 80s, that was normal. And it's almost like that kind of stuff has gone to the wayside for things like state testing and other things that really, really don't have the impact that a program like this does.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, once it kind of evolved, it's like, wait a minute, we can get a lot more education out of this concert, just planning a concert. You can learn all kinds of life skills out of that. And it's not just...
And for a special needs kid, that's extremely important.
Yeah, it's not just playing tunes.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with playing tunes either.
Yeah.
You know, learning about music's cool too. So that's great, but it also can spill out into other things.
Now, where do you see yourself, or where would you like to see the program go in the near future? What do you have a grand scheme? Is this something that you want to kind of introduce to other teachers? I mean, obviously that's what we're here for.
Yeah, well, so, I think that, you know, for me, I never really thought like grand scheme, but I mean, we need to share it with as many people as we can.
Right.
I've started a group now at an adult organization called
locally.
Advocates for Success in New Philadelphia.
All right.
And we actually have some kids there that were in the group when they were in middle school.
Yeah.
And then high school. So the owner of that organization, Nancy, calls me and said, hey, we want to come out and do this at our place. So we worked on getting drums, we worked on getting things together, and we started up, and I go in and they're, wait a minute, I know these guys.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool time to see those guys again and to start with that.
And they remembered who you were and what you did?
Yeah, and we did tunes with, and they're like, I remember that tune. So,
That's great.
So we had some of that.
Great.
And, you know, I think the more we share this, the more people know about it, the more people can do it.
Yeah.
And we can catch those kids that maybe nobody found what they're good at yet.
Right.
They haven't found where their abilities lie. And I've had kids that do this, and it's the highlight of their school experience.
Right.
So I think that's the grand scheme, is to spread it as much as I can. And if we can get people doing it, and I've said before, you know, people can contact me. And I always have, the email's always there, phone number's always there. I have made a professional development package, and I'm working on a college course to teach people. So the more that we get out, the better. You know, writing a book, trying to spread the word, because all it takes is that one time, that one kid. And when you get that time or that experience, it makes a difference for that one kid. That spreads everywhere. And if we can get music out there and make a difference, that's what's important. I guess that would be the grand scheme.
That's fantastic. Well, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. And
thank you for having me.
I tell you what, it's an exciting program, and I wish you nothing but the most success.
Thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely, absolutely.